sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. And if we learn anything from these verses of Scripture, it is that it's possible for believers to fall asleep spiritually, to become insensible to what is going on around them, to become insensible to divine things, to become insensible to those things that are of the utmost importance. And I sense that we are living in a very sleepy age. Many Christians are asleep to the dangers of sin. Many are asleep to the threat posed to the church by false doctrine. Many are asleep to the moral mess that is gathering pace around us. Many are asleep to the powerful influences of the world upon our young people. Many are asleep to the subtle shifts in worship styles and where that will lead to in 5 or 10 or 15 years from now. Many are asleep to the great spiritual needs of a world that's plagued with militant Islam and other false religions. Many are asleep to the onward march of secularism and humanism and atheism. And some are asleep to their own spiritual coldness and lethargy. We are in a sleepy age, believer, and it's a tragedy. I don't think you can look at Samson lying on Delilah's knee in verse 19 there and read through the chapter carefully at home again tonight and come to verse 19 and just pause and ponder what is actually being said there. This mighty man of God, this man who knew the power of God in the past, and there he is like a child lying on Delilah's knee, and he is fast asleep. It is a very disturbing, sad, and troublesome picture. And I don't think you can look at that picture that's in verse 19 and not be saddened by it. I don't think we can look at what's happening in many sections of the Church of Christ and not be saddened by it either. Many are like Samson lying asleep in the lap of the world and insensible to divine things. It's a very solemn theme, and one which has been heavy upon my heart. And I say that because when we think of the church asleep on the world's knee, or the Christian asleep, we are talking about those who belong to Christ, those for whom Christ died, those for whom Christ lives, those for whom Christ prays. And is it not a sad thing to see those who belong to Christ sleeping in this way? As believers, we are to be strong, we are to be spiritual, not slothful and sleepy. And so tonight I want to look at this picture and ask the question, Christians, are we asleep? And notice with me, first of all, here the pathway that leads to spiritual sleep. The pathway that leads to spiritual sleep. How did Samson ever come to be in this position? What led him into this particular state? After all, he did not set out to be in this predicament. This was not in Samson's plan. So how did he come to be in this state where he is in Delilah's chamber and he is upon her knee and he is sleeping? How did that come to pass? And by extension, what causes God's people to fall into a similar condition? What pathway leads to this? No Christian determines to fall asleep spiritually, and it doesn't just happen. There are things that precede this. There are steps that are taken. There are decisions that are made, a course that is followed that ultimately leads to this sad position. That's how it was with Samson.